Hey, so have you ever thought there might be some weird mutation hiding out in your DNA? The way some people have their organs flipped backwards or have an extra toe? Well, the world might never know, except if you take off your socks. Of course, these genes have to come from somewhere, and we can take comfort that whatever weird little ailments we have probably are hidden in not only our genes, but our parents as well. But this is significantly magnified in stranded populations. Today, we're going to look at several populations of people with weird traits for which they can thank their forefathers. This is called the founder effect. You see, when a group of people move to a new area and remain isolated, with cousins marrying and such, genes that are uncommon elsewhere become very common in that population. The royal disease. Queen Victoria had 3 children. Her son died of a blood hemorrhage at 30. Her 2 daughters went on to marry into the Prussian and the German royal family. All 3 of their sons died from blood hemorrhages, 2 as children and 1 at the age of 56. The surviving daughters married into the Spanish and the Russian royalty. The blood hemorrhages stopped the Russian monarchy in its tracks. The Spanish royal family consisted of a daughter and 3 sons, 2 of whom died as children from hemorrhages. So what was the cause? This is a case where selective marriage produced the founder effect rather than migration. The royals had married each other for so long that the bad genes lurking in their DNA were rising to the surface as hemophilia, a genetic disorder that prevents blood from clotting. If you noticed, the boys were much more unlucky. This is because the gene is linked to the X chromosome. The women would have 2 copies, one that works and one that is broken. If they had a broken one, they would simply use the one that works. The boys didn't have this option because they had only one X chromosome. Next, Tristan da Cunha is the remotest inhabited archipelago in the world, lying more than 1,700 miles or 2,700 kilometers off the coast of Cape Town, South Africa. There is a permanent population of 268 people living in a single city named Edinburgh of the 7 Seas. To visit Tristan da Cunha, one would need to acquire permission from the island council to even step foot on the island. Then, one needs to find a cargo ship, approximately 7 per year. This leg of the journey is extremely weather dependent, as many things can happen in 6 days. Once you can physically see the island, you will fly via helicopter to land, depending, once again, on the weather. Now you're on vacation, and you hope that the next ship will have good luck to take you back to civilization in a timely manner. But maybe you like the slow pace of the island and decide to live there. Well, sorry. Unless you have a family connection to the island, you will not be moving there. As you can see, the founder effect would be strong here with very little coming or going. And what is the genetic ailment for the island? Nearly half of the population has asthma. One individual in the island's founding population of 15 carried the gene for asthma, whether he or she experienced it or not. Asthma prevalence globally increases nearly 50% each year, making it a fast-growing problem. Unfortunately, some genetic disorders are not as common in the world as asthma. The islanders also have a gene for retinitis pigmentosa, a progressive blindness that affects 1 in 3,500 globally, but is much higher on the island. But not all isolated populations are on islands. Dangerous terrain and animals can just as easily isolate a population. In Venezuela, in a handful of villages, you will see 1 in 10 people simply not be able to walk, talk, or even swallow. This is Huntington's disease. The average age of diagnosis is between 30 and 50, and individuals can live 10 to 30 years afterwards, which is plenty long enough to pass the gene to the next generation. Dr. Nancy Wexler was also a child of a parent with Huntington's. and traveled to this area to help the people and identify what exactly went wrong in their genetic code, and she discovered it in 1993. Now, she wants to fix it, and runs a care home for Huntington sufferers while continuing her research. She has made much the same bargain as previous scientists, proclaiming that the Venezuelan families that have given so much to continue this research will be the first to benefit from its discoveries.
The choice between having a certainty that you don't get Huntington's, you have to risk having a certainty that you do. So ambiguity is not bad. I sort of use it as a kind of, creative force in my life.
There are also places where it is both an island and the terrain that isolate people. Martha's Vineyard is a small island off the east coast of the United States. While Martha's Vineyard now has high average income of greater than $130,000, its isolation made it poorer and insular in the past, especially Chilmark. Chilmark is a town that was a day's ride along bad roads and was a fishing village without a port, making the hub of Martha's Vineyard on the opposite end. Most people who were born in Chilmark died in Chilmark, intermarrying over and over throughout the years. What was remarkable about Chilmark is that when one walked down the street, one would see all manner of conversations. Regular old spoken speech to speech, sign language to sign language, and speech to sign language. Sign language was so prominent that even speech-to-speech conversations were peppered with sign language. But the town of Chilmark didn't find this remarkable at all. While the rate of deafness on the mainland was roughly 1 in 5,700, in Chilmark it was 1 in 25, with pretty much 25 in 25 knowing sign language. And who brought this trait to the island? In the late 1600s, Jonathan Lambert traveled from Kent, England, settling in Chilmark, and had 2 children, both deaf from birth. The last known descendant with Jonathan's deafness, Katie West, died in 1952.
Before your time, there were more deaf people around Chilmark, weren't there?
Yeah, I think there was. There wasn't too many when I was around. There's about, well, let's see, there's Josie West, Eva Lork, Katie West. There's only about 4 or 5. I know before that there was a lot more that I don't, before I come around.
And this special sign language has been slowly disappearing ever since, with the explosion in tourism in the 1800s putting Martha's Vineyard and Chilmark on the map of the East Coast. Isolated populations can make odd things show up in your genes, whether it's isolation by choice, such as royal marriage, water, distance, landscape, or a combination. Your genes hide mutations that can be an oddity, or help improve the lives of millions of people with a little bit of help. If you ever find yourself stranded, what oddities might your descendants have? Let us know in the comments below, and thanks for watching.